All right. Hello, everyone. Hi, my name is Leigh Ralston. I'm also known as Mommy Leigh on the internet. It's very nice to meet you. If we have never met before, if you haven't attended one of my classes before, hello, and it's very nice to meet you. I want to thank you for being here with us today. I know that your time is special and you're spending it with me, with us here with Michaels and Faber-Castell USA. I'm always glad to have you. Today's class is going to be not Christmas yet, although I have Christmas set up in the background. I'm super excited, so I did that decoration today. But we're going to talk about Thanksgiving first, and we're going to do a project. I actually have the worksheets printed here in front of me, but if you haven't printed it yet, it's okay. Don't worry about it because we're going to go through the step by step. In this class, we're going to learn faux calligraphy or pretend brush calligraphy. I know that brush calligraphy is a little difficult. You know, it takes a little bit of getting used to really achieve those thin and thick lines. And don't worry, if you are struggling with that thin and thick line, we're going to find a solution today. And that's what we're going to learn. It's all about faux calligraphy. I'm going to switch over to the overhead camera and we're going to get this class started. Okay. All right. So I'd like to see where everybody is from. Kathleen is from North Carolina. Hi, Kathleen. Thank you for joining us today. I am broadcasting live from Northwest Arkansas. It's so beautiful and cold outside. I love cold. I love the cold season. Adele is from Jersey Shore. Hello. We have friends from Utah. Hello, everyone. So Richmond, Virginia. Hi, hello, hello. Okay, so I am going to, since we're going to go create some nameplates today, I'd love to pick some of your names to write. So I'm going to see, write your name in the chat, and we're going to go practice some of those names today with our brush calligraphy. I have my samples in here. This is what I created. I love scrapbooking, so I have a couple of pattern papers here. If you have some fall pattern papers, that'll be perfect. But then again, if you're just learning the faux calligraphy, you don't have to have all these supplies. But I have some vellum paper. I did purchase this beautiful fall set from Michaels, and I have a couple from, I think, Simple Stories as well. So we're going to choose some of these. You can make this into a bookmark, see? You know, so they can take it home, turn it into a bookmark. You can create your own cards. So really, once you learn the faux calligraphy, you got this. All right. So faux calligraphy is a fake modern script or brush calligraphy. All right. So I can see all your names in here. We have Chattanooga, Tennessee. It's beautiful there. Jennifer, Linda. Hello, Julia. Okay. Nadia, or how do you pronounce that? Did I pronounce it correctly? Cher, Kathleen. Okay, so here we go. So faux calligraphy. To achieve the faux calligraphy, really, we're going to need I'm using a 1.5 bullet tip pen from Faber-Castell. If you have something similar, if you have a fine tip, let's say, if you have a medium nib, it's okay. So as long as you have a monoline pen or a very clean and crisp tip. So this one is a 1.5 and I'm using the PITT Artist. Okay, I will show you the difference. That's the 1.5. I am now going to use the brush pen, which is the pen that I use for my brush calligraphy. And if I'm going to write the A in the brush calligraphy style, I'm going to have a thin and thick lines. It's so beautiful, isn't it? But like what I said, it takes a little bit. It takes a lot of practice to really get into the level of this one, because the struggle is all about the pressure. And to achieve the thin and thick lines, it's all about the pressure that you apply in your pen. If you are interested, we have some past classes that I did with Michaels and Faber-Castell that we studied and learned about the basics of the brush calligraphy. So you can just watch that on Michael's YouTube channel to find that one class. So using a fine tip pen, we won't be able to get the brush look because we have a mono pen that will give us just one single line, right? So in brush calligraphy, these are the two basic rules that we have to remember. It's kind of like learning the brush calligraphy too, because you're going to learn about the upstrokes and the downstrokes. The upstrokes is applying very light pressure using your marker or your pen. So every single time that I would write away from me, this is when I would do the upstroke. So away from my body, that's an upstroke. So mentally in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I have to go really light with my pen and my pressure. Now, the downstroke is where the thick lines. And this is when your motion is when you're writing towards you. See this towards me is when I apply pressure. And I'm using the belly, the tip, and also the belly of my marker. I'm just going to zoom in real quick. I don't want you to get dizzy or anything like this. So when I do the downstroke, I apply pressure and I'm using the body or the belly of the marker. So understanding the two different strokes to achieve when we're doing brush calligraphy is very important, even when we're doing the faux calligraphy, because we're going to know we have to understand where we're going to apply those thick lines, so we're not just going to shade every single part of our letters. I hope if I'm going too fast, just let me know in the chat, but I'm going to try my hardest to really go slow and step by step, because I know it can get overwhelming, especially when there's like a lot of information, being shared with you at one time. Okay, so I'm going to grab my 1.5 or the bullet tip now, and we're going to get everything started. So remember, the upstroke is light pressure or the thin strokes, and then the downstroke is the thick stroke, right? I'm going to write it. Thin lines is called the upstroke, but you can find this in the worksheet as well. Your thick lines is your downstrokes. Okay, so now that we understand that that's what we need to do to achieve the faux calligraphy look, we're going to go practice with some letters in here. All right, so let's start with the letter A. Just write the letter A how you would normally do it if you're writing it in a capital letter, and just do it and give it a little flair, or you don't have to, because we're just going to study this first. Okay, so when I wrote this down, to achieve that faux calligraphy, I have to mentally retrace everything. So when I did this stroke, this is when I was writing, or my motion was towards me, right? So this is going to be my upstroke. Beneath or beside that line that we created originally, I just created this other stroke in here, right? So this is downstroke, mentally retrace the letter. Now this is upstroke here, but I went down here again. So I'm going to add another line over here, like that. Okay. So this one, it's not always, sometimes things doesn't go always as planned. I always say go to the right side of your letter, but if we're honest, sometimes we don't pre-plan things and we're just writing. And if this happens to you, instead of putting your other stroke over here, it's okay to put it to your left side. Just add it over here and close that in, right? So don't stress about it and say, oh my gosh, I didn't leave enough space on the right side of my line, so now I can't add the line there. Then don't worry about it. Go to the left side and just, do the same motion. All right, I'm just closing in those two lines. And now all we need to do is fill in this part right here. And repeat the same process to go on the other side. I will do that again. It's there, right? So if your letter A was like this is your upstroke here. So this is thin. And now this is my thick side. So I'm going to add a line here, and I'm just going to stop there, right? And again, I don't feel like it's going to look so great if I add here. I feel like all the strokes are here, but we can try it and see. So just be mindful of your spacing. Be mindful that you're going to add another line when you're writing down. So I'm just going to close this 2 strokes in and then shade everything. Right? Close this part and then shade it. And really, if you want to add just a little bit here, kind of add another tail or another belly over there. But leave this part really thin because this is where you did really go up. And so this is your thin stroke. All right. So let's do a letter B. So you can do your letter B this way to make it a little fancy. Just adding a little bit of swashes like that. Now your letter B. See how my the beginning of my letter is over here, almost in the middle, but not really in the middle. But this is personal preference. You're going to learn that when you're doing brush calligraphy or creative lettering, it's all about repetition and really practicing. And you're going to find out ways to write the letters or draw the letters, as I like to say it. When we're doing creative lettering, we're actually drawing the letters. We're not just writing. And this is one of those things that I always like to say, the hand lettering versus hand writing. Because when I'm writing just normal writing, it doesn't look this way. I don't write fancy this way to sign the documents for my kids or in the hospital or anywhere else. So this is actually drawing the letters. All right, so we have the basic here. Let's have another sample of the letter B. I like to do my letter B's this way too. It's kind of like the letter L, but a small belly in there. And I'm just bringing up my stroke kind of in the middle and then bringing this up again and then do that. See, that's 2 different look of a letter B. All right. Okay, so now we're going to add the thin and the thick lines. So I'm going to mentally retrace everything the way I did. So this is me going down. So I'm going to add another line here. Notice how I added outside, not on the inside. Just kind of like visualize it and see what will look better. And so that's why it's a good practice to start with some pencil to kind of see before you go into your final artwork so that you can avoid mistakes and frustration. Save yourself from a lot of frustration. And there I added on the right side. I took some classes for this one, and they always say just go on the right side of the letter or stick with it. If you're on the left side, then stick to the left side. But like what I said, things doesn't always go as planned. So it's kind of like understanding my letters and what it's going to look like if I added to the right side of that line or on the left side or the inner part of my letters. So just play around with it. This one, notice how my loop over here is too close on this first base line here for a letter B. So if I add it to the right side, I know that it's not visually going to look good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to retrace it from here and just add my line here. And now it makes it actually, it made it more balanced, and they're not going to be so squished in this inner part. All right, so let's do this again into this letter B. I'm going to retrace it. I know that I went down here, so this is going to be part of my downstroke or thick lines. What you can do also is instead of adding line, if you feel like you're comfortable enough to just kind of add stroke beside that first original line that you created to make it much thicker, then by all means do that. But if you feel like, you know what, just to be safe, I'm just going to add a line first before I shade everything in. All right, so I went here and then up here, but instead of this thin line, I'm going to make these part over here thick as well, kind of like what I did in here. So sometimes the rules of understanding where your thick and thin is supposed to be, remember that nothing is set in stone. Remember that you can always bend the rules. So if you say, you know what, I want this part thick and I want this part thin, no one's going to stop you. So by all means, you can do that too. But as long as you understand the basic, you know, I remember, I am a singer. So I remember when I was doing jazz music, and for smooth jazz, you know, musicians like that, they have a certain way of playing chords. And I was wondering, you know, because it sounds in normal ears or normal people, it might sound a little off. And so I said, what are the rules of making it sound jazz? And they always say, once you understand the bass, you can go off and just do whatever you want because it's jazz. You have to jazz it up. So I like to think the lettering is that way. If you understand the basic of the thin and thick and where to apply it, then that's good. But if you want to bend the rules and not follow that, where the thin and thick are supposed to go, by all means, go for it. Okay, so let's do letter C. This one, I'm just going to cup it a little bit, have that loop over there to make it look a little fancy, just like that. And I'll show you another way. We're going to do exactly this way, but watch what we're going to add here. So we have our letter C. Be careful with this one because notice how this one, my loop is a little too close to my main stroke or main line. It can end up looking like letter E. So what I like to do sometimes, I like to add some swashes or loops in here. So from this here, where that line ended, I'm just gonna get that, scoop it up and bring it up. So kind of like added this one simple loop over here and then bring it up like that. But see, notice what I'm saying about your letters have to be readable. With this one, people might think, what is that, a letter C or a letter E? Of course, it's going to depend on the word. Then some will be obvious that that's a letter C. So let's do that again. We want to make sure that they don't stay too close. You want to have enough space between that loop and that. So you have this, and I'm going to go stretch it out a little bit again and add that loop. Now I'm going to thicken this part up over here where my downstroke is going to be. I just added that line and I'm going to shade that part in. Right? And then this one right here, I'm going to do this. I'll shade part in. And then I'm just adding a little bit here because I feel like it was a little too short for me. Like that. So step by step. I'm going to do this here again, retrace this, add my strokes, do it here, but instead of the right side, I'm going to go in the left side and just thicken that part. And this one over here, just kind of bring in this, bring that part in there. So we have the letter C. That's a little too close for a little, it looks like a letter E to me too. See, notice how I don't do things perfect the first time as well. So it's always just trial and error. All right, so let's do a letter D. You can do just one simple, kind of like what we did with the letter B. Notice how very similar that is. And instead of two bellies, we're just going to do one belly. So that's the letter D. And I'll show you how I did this letter B over here is how I like to do my letter D also. It's kind of like a letter L, beginning of letter L. But instead of two, I have just one belly. All right. So let's do this, thicken that part out. But now that you've learned that general rule, is just adding another line to thicken some areas to mimic and to copy that calligraphy look. Know when to go add your downstroke or your thicker lines, and knowing when to leave it thin, because you know that that's supposed to be your thin lines or your upstrokes. But those are just the two basic rules. When doing calligraphy using brush pens, there's a lot of mental practice. I remember when I was beginning, I would always repeat to myself, thin and thick and thin and thick, you know, because it's that pressure that you apply with a brush pen. And it really takes some practice. You know, it took me, I think, 2 years before I got comfortable to where I'm really happy with my progress and my work. But as always, I always recommend to keep a journal or a sketchbook so that you can see your progress. You know, you can see where you started like a year ago, and a year from then, you're going to see that, wow, I've actually improved a whole lot. So it will help you a lot. Okay, so letter E. This time, so we did this C, right? It's very, very similar. And I think this is also one thing that you're going to learn when you do this over and over again. You're going to realize that you're really doing it one stroke after the other, and it's more similar than you can ever think of. It's like, oh, it's just how I did the letter B or how I did this, but instead of that, I did this. So just repetition. So we're going to repeat the same way that I did with the letter C, added that loop. So I'm just going to go over here and add that. And see how much fancy schmunchy that looks now with that added loop over there on the top. So from here, looking at this already, I know that this is too close to one another. So I know I'm not going to add my line inside of my stroke. I'm going to go on the outside, add that. And so visually, that looks more balanced to me. Now this one, I feel like, you know what? There's much space. There's still a lot of space left on the inside. So I'm going to go on the inside and add my line. And notice how sometimes I add just a little bit of line and I just shade right away. And that's because I've gotten used to it already. But if you're just beginning, it's okay to take your time. Don't worry about it. All right, so do that. I know it already. It looks very close. So I'm going to repeat the same process and go on the outside instead on the inside of my stroke. Here we go. And here, I'm just going to go a little bit. I'm going to go thinner than I think, not too thick. And then go up in here, bring this up, and just add a little bit there. And then shade that part in. There we go. It's super pretty. Now with the letter F, I think F is my least favorite letter. I don't know why. Sometimes I like to play with my letters, and some are looking like script, some kind of like just look print. And I just add a little bit of swashes here and there to make it look fancy like that. So that's one way I write my letter F. Another part would be add this, right? And add this part and add a loop in there and bring it out. And then we'll do like a little slanted. Everything's just a little slanted when you're doing some script letters. All right, so that's our letter F. I'm just going to go here outside of my letter and then shade that part. Slow, like that. And then over here, add that part there and just go like that. So what I like to really advise, the class is that when you're doing faux calligraphy, I think instead of trying different ways to write the letters, I say start with your own handwriting. You don't have to make it too fancy or anything like that. Just start with basic script letters or even the print letters. but just knowing and understanding where you're going to add your shading and another extra line, that's the most important part. So just keep practicing with that. All right, so kind of like I followed this shape, just kind of like add it on the outside, and then I'm just going to shade this part in. Now I know our time is limited. I might not be able to finish the whole letters, the alphabet, but I want you to just keep practicing and really use your own handwriting when you're doing this to just get familiar where you want to add your thick lines and your thin lines. All right. Okay, so I want to add it here. I want to add it here on the outside. I feel like I want to adjust this one because I feel like it's a little shorter. So I'm just adding a little bit of stroke and then going to go down. And then add my stroke in there, my shading in there. Repeat the same process. I'm going to bring this down, add my loop like that, and then shade this part right here. Like that. And then this as well, I'm going to add it. Now it's one way to write letters this way, right? Separated and all that. The most difficult part is combining the letters. To me, it's like when I see people doing it separated like this or individual letters this way, it's like, oh, okay, but how about when we're actually writing now? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose some of your names and we're going to go practice with those names. But I want you to really practice with the individual letters first to mentally really train yourself where to add that thin and thick lines. All right. So let's look for pretty names. Every name is beautiful, but we're going to choose. Right, Kathleen seems like very long. It looks like it's going to be really pretty to write. Let's write Kathleen. So we have my smudges, letter K. How I would write my letter K is, remember this, there's basic strokes that I keep using over and over again. Some of these are like this. So you're going to see me do a lot of this stroke, right? I do a lot of this. Right? So this one. So this also. So these are just some of the basic stroke that you're going to say, oh, I keep doing that over and over again. And then this one. Because this plus this is equals to, look at this. A fancy letter A. So those are just the basic strokes that you can practice with, and you're going to notice that, oh, it's the same. Okay. So, all right. So let's do Kathleen's name. This stroke right here. Right. I'm going to go bring this down and add my loop over there. And with the letter K. Like that. And letter A. So here is almost like that stroke again, but much smaller. Bring it down. And I'm notorious for spelling wrong. So I'm taking my time and looking back. Okay, so bring this up a little bit. See how I'm writing one letter after the other, even though they're all connected. I'm still doing this one stroke at a time. So I'm not, this is where handwriting versus hand lettering comes in. Because if I'm going to write this, you know, Kathleen, this is how you would write it with a normal pencil or a normal pen, right? But when you're drawing the letters, understand that you're drawing it one stroke after the other. So just take your time. And also, what's important about understanding the handwriting versus hand lettering is that when you do handwriting, most of the time, we don't lift our pen from the paper. But when we're doing hand lettering, there's this motion of one stroke, lift my pen up, go down again, lifting my pen, doing one stroke, lifting it again, and then adding that. So one letter at a time, okay? So now we're going to add our letter L here. I'm being mindful to have some spaces in between my letters. So I'm kind of like, instead of making it narrow, I'm stretching the letters a little wider, because understanding that I'm going to add another stroke in different, areas like this. So I'm just mindfully understanding where, okay, I have to stretch my letters or my strokes out, because we're going to add those shading later. Okay, so all right, here we have it. Here, I'm going to add my outside line here on the inside, connecting that part. Just going to close that part in. Zoom in real quick. All right, so here I know I want to add a belly over here in that loop. I'm repeating the same process, but on this bottom part right here, just add like that. So this one, I'm just adding it on the inside. This one, I'm going to go on the outside. I'm going to go stretch this one a little bit further. So go up and just kind of like close it in with a loop. Now it's time to shade that. Go slow where the connections are. Just take your time over there. Here as well. There we go. I'm just going to shade everything in. Right? I want to go move a little faster so we can write more names. Just follow along with me, and if it's going a little too fast, know that you can watch the replay on YouTube channel, Michael's YouTube. Okay, so this one, I feel like my letter A is too narrow. So instead of going in, I'm going to go outside of my stroke, because I have enough space in between my K and my letter A. So just shade that part over here. If you feel like you didn't stretch your letters apart wide enough, then make your outside stroke just a little thinner. Just go over that same lines that you did and just kind of like make your letters bolder and thicker, right? So this one right here, so I did upstroke. This one is going to be my downstroke. Just going to add that letter or stroke in there. There you go. And just fill everything in. Now this one, I'm going to add this, go over this, kind of like stretch it inside and add some shading. And then I want to write this using a brush pen so you can see the difference of the faux calligraphy and also using a brush pen for your calligraphy. So mentally retracing it, upstroke, thin, this is downstroke, so I'm going to go add that and then shade part in. All right, so upstroke, upstroke, this one is going to be thicker. So upstroke again, upstroke, this one is thicker. The thing with faux calligraphy, it could be a little time consuming because, you could have just done this in one stroke or just one writing and not have to worry about filling in areas and all that for your thin and thick lines. But also using a brush pen can be a little stressful as well. So I'm going to repeat this one and use a brush pen. So repeat it like this. So notice how it's still one stroke after the other. And I'm lifting and resting after one letter. Like that. So notice how even when I'm using a brush pen, sometimes I would still go back in and fix some of my strokes like this. I feel like, okay, I feel like this can go a little thicker. So I'll still go back in there and thicken things up, you know, here and there. And here I want this thicker here. So I'll just kind of like doing the faux calligraphy and just adding some lines and shading parts in, right? It's so beautiful. Your name is so pretty. Okay, so next we'll do Linda because I love letter L. My name's Lay. Okay, so we'll do Linda this time. Thank you so much. All right, so letter L. Letter L. My belly is big. Now with the letter L, you can play around with this. See how this one, I have a very, very big loop on top and a small one. Now you can do that the opposite way. You can make this into a smaller loop and you can make this one into a much bigger loop. So notice that it's just one way, it's not the correct way. So play around with it, really. You can always not do a loop and just kind of like a scoop over here and do that. You know? So just as simple as that. You can also just do it like this, kind of like just a slanted line and add like this. So many different ways you can really draw a letter because you're drawing it. And so play around and don't be afraid to try things. All right, so I'm going to go on the other page. All right. So we're going to do, all right. I think I'm going to do with the big loop on top. I think this is my favorite look, and a very small loop in the bottom, like that. Now, being mindful of my spacing, we can do this like that. Here. It's beautiful, beautiful name. Okay, so
hey, we have a question.
Yes.
Linda is asking if you can use a fountain pen for this.
Absolutely, yes. When you're using a fountain pen, you can, you know, if you're using a nib that is flexible, then you can create a thin and thick line right away. But if you're using a medium or a stub, then you can do the faux calligraphy and just kind of follow along retrace those strokes that you did and then add your thin and thick lines. But yes, it can be very beautiful effect, you know, using a fountain pen. All right, so I'm going to add my stroke in there. All right. A chisel tip would be very difficult, Karen, because using a chisel, it takes a little bit of practice, understanding how to use it. I know myself, I'm not a very big fan of the chisel tip, but you can actually use it for those, is it called italic fonts, where you can actually create the thin and thick lines by just playing around with the nib, understanding that it's a square tip, so know when to add your thin and thick line, but it takes a little practice, and I'm still practicing on that one. It's a little tricky. But then if you're just going to use the thin line of that and just add your mono line, create a mono line, and then just add parts where you want to thicken, then absolutely you can do that. This will work for all the pens. You can use it for gel pens, you can use it for pencil, you know. So it's going to be fun. And just by adding this thicker strokes, you're mimicking this beautiful art of calligraphy. Really is beautiful. So here, instead of adding extra line, I'm just kind of like going over the areas where I know I need to add my thicker parts, kind of like retracing here. I'm going to add line over here like that, go over. So this one would be a downstroke. Move it over here. This one I'll add a loop here. Like that. So, no, this one will be thick too. All right. This one will be thick. This part right here. And then just adding on the inside instead of the outside. Beautiful. All right. I know we don't have a whole lot of time, so I want to prepare one of the nameplates. I have some cardstocks in here, and we're going to choose, let me see, Rhonda's name and Julie's. So we can do that. The N and the Linda, hold on, I'm trying to think. Raised and more embellished. Really, it's going to be, Karen, I think that's more a personal preference because like what I said, when I'm playing around with letters or I'm drawing letters, sometimes I don't do script and all of them. You know, most of the time, if I would do a Linda this way, L and that, and I would do letter I this way, sometimes I would make this capital, the letter N, just because it gives it character. I think that's the beauty of the calligraphy or faux calligraphy or just brush calligraphy itself or calligraphy itself is that I like to bend rules, you know? So if I would do a letter L this way and an I this way, and notice how my letters, I like to play around with my size. And this would be for another class, and I hope you'll be able to join us again next time. But I love that bounce lettering look where it's kind of like flowing instead of it being so precise and so perfect, for lack of a better word. I like it when it's like free flowing. See how my letters go up and down like that. So that's just another style of lettering, which is called bounce lettering. We'll have to do another class about the bounce lettering for sure. Okay, I want to prepare my cardstock in here. So I have some vellum pieces here, a beautiful cardstock, or we can actually put it over here and write down our beautiful name here. All right. So we'll actually start doing that too. We'll do one and we'll see. Rhonda, I'm going to write your name here. And if you are in the US, if you want to follow me on Instagram, would love to ship this one to you. You can have it. Okay, so here we go. I think I'm going to choose the pumpkin. And I have my paper cutter in here. I really love the green part. Never mind, I'm not, because it's too busy. So sometimes when it's too busy and you have this beautiful lettering, you don't want to take it from that gorgeous lettering of yours. When your background is too busy, your eyes just kind of like, well, which one am I going to look at? The pretty print on the back or that beautiful lettering of yours? So this is 3 inches. So I need to cut 3 inches in here. Using my paper cutter. We have another class next week. Before I forget, would love to invite you again. We're going to do a fun watercolor lettering. This is going to be tricky, but really once you get the hang of it, I think it's the same with anything really, you know, whether it's drawing or painting or, you know, jewelry making, crafting. It just takes a little bit of practice, but I think it's the process that you want to make sure you enjoy. It's the fun part. Okay, so I have my crocodile here. I'm just gonna eyeball things and find my middle. I'm not always the best at this, but okay, I'll try my hardest. and hold it at the same time. Okay. I don't know about you, but I'm terrible at eyeballing things. I'll find my middle. We'll see. I'll pretend this is the middle part. Okay. All right. We'll choose the red one. Okay. Just this part. This is brand new to me. So I'm like, how do you use this thing? And I'm not the best at reading instructions, but I think you just really apply pressure there. Yep, it takes strength. All right, look, now we have this pretty thing. Okay, let us write, okay, Julie's name here. Where's Julie? Okay, so I'm gonna grab, this time, I'm gonna use Faber-Castell metallic pen. This is also a 1.5 tip, all right? I'm going to do this. Next week's class, what is our next week's class? Do this one. So Julie, when I'm doing something final, I like to go with my pencil first. It's really a good practice. Everybody should try and do this. It's kind of like, okay, but go very light. I'm gonna go loop that around there. I know you can't see it, and I'm sorry. It's just pencil. Because when you're doing something like this, you want to be mindful of your space and all that. So I like to really use my pencil first to kind of understand, you know, the borders and how much space I have. Oh, then. So this is a kneadable eraser. I guess it's not a good idea to use it on the vellum, especially with someone who have heavy hand like me. Just go light. Don't be like me. All right, I'm gonna go and do Julie. Okay. So one stroke after the other. Just taking my time here. I don't have to finish the whole stroke. I just have to rest in there. I felt like, okay, I cannot do a clean loop. So I just pause in there and then we'll just pick it up from where we left off. And I feel like I need to rest here again. Here again. And stretch it right there. So seeing that, you don't always have to finish one letter. You can rest as long as you just, you know, be mindful of your stroke when you come back in, because sometimes it's not always clean. You can't always make it precise. So just be, you know, just take your time. Okay, so next week's class, we're going to be doing the modern calligraphy. I'm going to be using the modern calligraphy set of Faber-Castell. So this has watercolor tubes. And then we're going to be just doing a lettering piece that you can actually frame. You can use it as a card and all that. But it's going to be fun because you need to prepare your watercolors, some watercolor brushes, pencils, watercolor pad. And we're going to learn how to do that beautiful calligraphy style, but using some watercolors and not markers, right? So I hope you'll be able to join us again. Okay, stopping in there. I love using vellum because it's so smooth, the surface. I feel like my pen just glides. It's so smooth. Right, there's Julie's beautiful name. All right, so what do we do from here? Now we're going to add our stroke. If you feel like you're going to mess up with where to add your lines in here, just kind of like stop in here and pause a little bit. Okay, and visually see, okay, I can add it over here because this is too close to one another. I feel like I'm going to go left here. So just analyze your artwork or your piece and then go from there. So just don't jump in real quick. Just kind of take pause and slow down. Add it over here. I'm just going to close that part in and shade this area. Fill in that area there. Right? So beautiful too. And I love using the metallic pens of Faber-Castell because I don't have to keep pumping and all that. And I get this beautiful metallic effect. Some pens were like to pump and all that. It's like it ruins my mojo. Right here, I'm just going to add a little bit to thicken this part up. All right. And here, this is too close to one another, so I'm going to go on the outside and just kind of add that. Do that and close it and go back in and shade. Repeat the same process over here. Like that. Back here and add that. Close that. All right. So just went over my strokes, kind of like follow that stroke along, and then add this one for that loop. And here I'm going to go on the right side instead of the left, so the inner side of my letter. Just added that extra in there. All right. Here. I'm stopping here. I don't have to always stretch it right here because from here I'm going to add some extras on the inside and really thicken this part up. Just to add that visual. Very pretty. See? And some accents that I like to add when I'm doing some lettering, whether it's quote or just name, I like to add just dots. You know, irregular dots, not perfect, but just regular imperfect dots like this. And I do it in 3. So I'm going to add 3 dots here as well. Like that. And what you can do is if you have another color that you want to use, oops, I almost forgot to add my thick part right here. You can go around your letters and you can actually use a much thinner tip of black if you want to kind of like add the borders in to enclose everything in. So you have that beautiful stroke. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That's Julie. Gorgeous. You can add your ribbon here. I have my ribbon. I don't know where it's at. Okay, we're running out of time. So I want to write Rhonda real quick before we say goodbye to one another. Okay, so now understanding I have this small area right here, and this is where my pencil is going to come in handy, right? So R, make sure I R, okay. Start with a pencil. See, I already made a mistake. Thank goodness I used a pencil. Okay, I think that's good enough. I'm just going to go over my pencil lines. I want to use I actually have this gorgeous Copper Cabana. The PITT artists also have this one. So it's Copper 252. Okay. So again, no pumping, no shaking or anything like that. And you just get this beautiful metallic finish. Right. So every surface will be different. Some effects that you're going to get from a sheen vellum paper, you might not get that in wood just because it's 2 different finish. All right. So pretty. what I like about the faux calligraphy is it takes out that pressure. Okay, should use a better word. It takes out the stress of having to, okay, I have to make this thick and then thin and then thick again and then thin again. So I just want to write my letters. I want to focus on just writing the letters pretty instead of trying to really give myself a hard time with understanding where to apply that thin and thick line right away. And the beauty of the faux calligraphy is that you can just write your letters as pretty as you like, and then come back in and then add your thin and thick lines. So, I mean, I guess both have the pros and cons because, again, it's a little time consuming because, you know, you wrote down your letter, then you hope to go back in and fix and add your strokes. But whatever it is that floats your boat, hey, I say do that. Okay. So what you can do is when you use a wood like this, I always like to add a finish and add some Mod Podge, actually, to have that sheen and beautiful gloss on top. And then it will also protect my artwork. So these are great for giftings and all that. So add my second stroke there and fill that in here. I hope that this class was inspiring and helpful. We want to thank everybody for joining us today. I know I had so much fun. It's so relaxing. It's just really chill with you guys. And thank you for spending time with us today. And if you created along with us, would love to see your creations. Don't forget to tag us on social media, #MakeItWithMichaels, Faber-Castell USA. I'd love to see it. I would love to see it. I'd love to stay in touch with you guys. Please do follow us along on social media. If you have any questions for me, we can always, you know, chat on social media that way. Now this time, look at this, what I'm going to do. So we have this copper here, and I feel like this is too thin here. Just add a little bit. What I want to show you what you can do is that I'm going to go over the areas where I did my stroke. This is kind of like understanding where your light source is, but I'm going to add shadows on the left side of every stroke that we created. So left side, I'm going to use the gold one, and I'm just going to add it. So here, this is the left side. I'm going to add this part here. This is my left side. This is where you can't bend it. You have to stick to one side. It's not like where I said, you know, just, no, it's up to you where you want to add your thin and thick lines. But this time I feel like you have to stick with one side. So if you want to stick with the left, stick with the left of every line. If you want to do to the right, then go do every part of the right side of the strokes. This one I'm just going over all the left side. Like that. But there, oh my goodness, so beautiful. So lovely. There you go. It's almost over. Oh my gosh. Okay. Rhonda, if you follow me on Instagram, would love to get in touch with you. Love to mail you that one. Okay. And also Julie. All right, here we go. Let's see if this one works. Okay, it's working. Thank you again so much, guys, for joining us. Thank you, Michaels, and thank you, Faber-Castell USA, for providing this free class for all of us today. I hope that you learned something. If you have any questions for me, you can find me on social media, like what I said, and let's chit chat and all that. And I really do hope that you'll be able to join us again for next week's class. If you're watching this on a replay, you missed a lot, but we hope that you'll be able to join us for our next class. Thank you, everyone. Stay creative and stay happy. God bless you all. Thank you.